Hi everyone, we're back. I hope you're as riveted as we have been with this story. We were talking about on the break that we've got a future TED Talker on our hands here. If you've ever watched TED Talks, they are pretty fantastic, and we believe that Amanda will be the next TED Talk star.
You bet.
And you heard it here first.
You bet. Exactly. Amanda, we're going to launch your career on TED Talks, and then you're going to make sure you tell everybody to listen more on PHAMCAST.
Thank you.
We digress.
I have to say, though, even again, as I said previously, even though I've heard your story already, just at the moment where you said, I asked the universe for help, it just got me choked up. I was like, oh my gosh, it's such a simple thing to do. And, that you got to that point in your life where you were just like, not that you give up,
but surrender. But
you knew that you needed help. You knew you needed support somehow. And surrender is a really good word. That vision in my mind is so pure. And I'm just in awe of your strength and your ability to bring yourself up from somewhere that felt so bleak and dark for you. So I'm your eternal fan here, but please continue with your story. You were describing that you were in a relationship that was not probably best serving you, and you let that relationship go. And please continue with your story.
Yeah, I mean, shortly after that, I found herbal medicine, and I did my training in that. And I actually decided to write a book, a bone book. It's not an official book, but it's like a document, which I called the bone book. And it details everything to do with bones, to do with pain, to do with arthritis, to do with bone density and strengthening, and how to get pain and inflammation down. And so I found there were so many different types of herbs, and I started using them like full on. And I didn't know until I came to see you guys whether that had worked or not. Yes. But it became very much part of my life, and I went on to meet my husband, and everything became quite positive. I also found Joe Dispenza, who is an amazing speaker and guy that helps to people to manifest things in their life and get rid of serious health issues. So I was using some of his books to help me to visualize having stronger bones in my meditations and just on a daily basis. I was telling my bones that they were strong regularly. And then, despite what the Women's Hospital had told me about having kids, I ended up having a very healthy child and a healthy pregnancy at 42. With my now husband.
Unbelievable.
And we got to meet that precious little boy
and
of
you
yours.
got to meet that little monkey, yes.
He is adorable, indeed.
He's such a sweetheart.
And all the way through this, probably from quite early on, after that second bone scan, I have been on Susan Brown's emails. So, and I would read them and flick through them from time to time, but not give them over time. There were so many, I didn't always go into them or have time for that. But one day, one of the emails came through, and I just saw this new way of testing bone density. And I went straight into it, and I was super excited and started reading all about it. And I was like, okay, I've got to find out if this is in Canada. And I started Googling again and looking, and I found you guys.
Yes.
And you happen to be doing one, a couple of hours from where I live. And my birthday was coming up, and I was like, I'm doing it. And so many things came up to kind of try to prevent me from going, so many different commitments around that time that I had to say no to, like my best friend's birthday celebration and all these different things. I was like, I have to prioritize this and go.
Good for you.
You know what? It's funny that you're bringing up, I love the connections that are being made here through the work that we're doing. Mm-hmm. And I've always believed in this better together as one mentality to life and to health. And so Dr. Brown was on our show, and you'll have to listen to that episode. And she talked about this as well. And she talked about, collaboration, and she talked about listening and we talked deeply about curiosity. And you got really curious about your own health, and you dove in and took ownership for your own health and maybe thought outside the box. And I just curious, I wanted to ask you this because I know there's going to be viewers listening. I have faced this in my career in preventative and integrative health for 31 years. I think sometimes people thought I was hugging a tree and howling at the moon when really I'm a science girl, and you're an occupational therapist and you believe in science too. But when you said that you're literally visualizing your bones and stronger bones, people sometimes, I'm sure you get the eye rolling, right? Oh gosh, what's she talking about? That's kind of crazy. But Dr. Brown spoke about this as well and the importance of this holistic approach. Have you been met with some people pushing back with and rolling their eyes at your approach, even despite, we haven't even got to the results yet, but even despite the wins that you've had?
Yeah, my whole family. Yeah, the whole family. I've just been pushing against them for like years because, yeah, I understand the tree huggy thing, you know. I'm the one that did the, you know, boils herbs on the hob and, you know, drinks stuff that looks like pee and, you know, takes tissue salts and like homeopathic remedies, which they all poo-poo that, right? And I mean, my degree was based in science. It's all very sciencey. I've worked in the system for years. So there is definitely a place for that. But what about before that? What happened before the medical system? What happened when we were living with, you know, in nature more and we had age-old remedies that worked?
Right. And I love that you're saying that, and it just keeps coming full circle. We had this conversation with Dr. Brown, and we've had it with many doctors. You know, I don't use, and we talked about this, Amanda, the word alternative medicine. That is not in my vocabulary. We're complementary, and there's a time and a place. Even with medications, there's a time and a place. But it can't just be the front line of defense, and we do have to take some accountability. And, you know, Megan and I want to congratulate you and honor you for doing the work, because there's the hard part. You can get curious, but to get results and to pull yourself out of a hole, it requires hard work.
Effort, commitment.
Yes, yes. And connections, you know, I'm not surprised that people were coming into your orbit and that had good things to help you along, and meeting people, because when we're open to it, that makes a huge difference. But we just want to say that for those listening at home, hope isn't a plan. You got curious, that's one step. But then you took ownership and accountability. We talk about being the CEO of your health. You are a boss when it comes to being the CEO of your health. And I just wanted to pat you on the back, because I know that you've been probably not got a lot of that when people were poo-pooing some of the things you're doing. And thank you for sharing so authentically and courageously, because there's a lot of naysayers.
There is, but I have to say that my family, I did send them, and we'll talk about my results in a minute, but I sent them the results. I told them what my results were. And for the first time ever, my father came to me for help yesterday.
Oh.
He came to me for alternative health. He wanted me to help him organize his vitamin and supplement schedule, and he wanted to know more about this chronic cough that he's got. And he has never done that, ever.
Wow.
So even though we didn't discuss them verbally, you know, it was only done on an email, I think now that they're seeing that, wow, there's like a hard result there, and perhaps all of those things do work. But the one thing I do want to say about that is that improving your bone health and just general health is a unique, well, it's not so unique, but it's a recipe for each person.
Yes.
And depending on what kind of person they are.
Right.
Because if they are anxious and they are, you know, stressed out and they've got a lot of adversity in their life, maybe they really need to look at their kidneys and their liver and calming their nervous system down. Have they had trauma? If no exercise at all, maybe that's the piece that they need to fit in. So it's looking at the whole picture depending on that individual.
Well, and you said at the beginning of our conversation today that they also, you know, that the medical system, which is, we're so grateful to live in Canada where we have access to incredible tests. There are a lot of underlying conditions that can quietly and insidiously destroy our bone health. So you've had a lot of those tests. People, you know, looking at diabetes and cancer and thyroid and parathyroid and gut issues and steroids. And if you've got asthma, I mean, there's all kinds of things, but you've taken every stone and unturned them and uncovered them to make sure that you're looking at all aspects. And that's what we're on a mission to do, aren't we, Meg? Is to really educate and empower and to give options for people to consider so they can advocate for themselves. And how do you advocate when you don't even know the questions to ask because you're too scared, like you were, to even do a yoga pose, right?
Yes, I remember that when I was scanning you said, so can I do yoga? Can I do a twist again? And something so basic that we take for granted, you were worried about doing. You were worried that you were going to hurt yourself. And, the fear that's associated with that is just, it seems so counterintuitive and counterproductive to what we're trying to do. So, how can we positively support? How can we positively move forward in the direction where we're doing micro goals, where we're, trying to make sure that we're doing the best that we can, whatever that is, right?
And also to support the system, because I'm not here, and we're not here, any of us, to bash the incredible healthcare professionals, the doctors, the surgeons that are in the trenches doing the hard work, but they don't have all the answers either. And why I would like just people to be more open to better together. And the most important member of that healthcare team is you, Amanda, is us. And listening to
Amanda's
our bodies.
The most important person in my team? No, just kidding.
On her team.
She can be on my team too, though. I'd love to have Amanda on my team.
Absolutely. So let's not leave our listeners hanging any longer. You came to see us in Ottawa because you found out through Dr. Brown, thank you, Dr. Brown, that the REMS was available in Canada and that you came to see us. Tell everybody about your experience and what that was like for you and what mattered about that experience for you.
Yeah, I think firstly what mattered was the kind of personal contact that I had before I even got to the office. So that was really encouraging, and it made it worthwhile because I was traveling a long way. And the fact that I could bring my son with me and he could be in the office too. And then going to a sort of like a physiotherapy or osteopath type office, which is a lot more inviting than at the hospital, like it was the second thing. And then how I was invited into the room and sitting down and kind of made to feel really calm and like a human being, really, was really great. And everything was explained to me. And I knew from having a baby like that, the ultrasound method wasn't going to do any harm to me. So that was pretty key as well. And I was just very excited. Yeah, and nervous.
I was so excited to finally meet you because we'd had a few conversations over email and on the phone, and I was really, really excited to meet you. So it was it was like a full circle moment. And, you just have those feelings sometimes where you can't really articulate what's going on, but it feels so much bigger than just that moment, right? It's a powerful moment, but it was so much bigger. And I'm so thankful that we were all able to connect there. So the ripple effect has been lasting for weeks for me.
Well, and Amanda, thank you. I mean, we haven't even got your results yet. And I just want to thank you for recognizing, because yes, Megan and I are traveling across the country and doing REMS bone scans, and that's what OsteoSound is committed to doing. But OsteoSound and Wallace for Wellness 2.0 came together with a much bigger vision, and this is what you were getting at, was really to not just be leaders in bone health analysis, but also to be leaders in helping to educate, empower, and inspire you to be your own advocate and to stock your toolbox, but to make you feel like not that you're just being heard, but that you have better health esteem and confidence so that you can act on your own behalf and look at many options, both from conventional and complementary medicine. And so for us to hear, I don't know how it makes you feel, Meg, but for us to hear less than a year out that our vision is that, and right out of the gates, you're saying that it mattered to you, the way that you're being treated, that the way that you're being educated and listened to and heard, that matters. Thank you for saying that, because to be honest, it makes me tearful.
I know.
Because because that is the mission we're on. Yes, we want to give the best quality exam and have that piece of paper in our hand, that technology and the research and all of the things, because the science girls and us, that's for sure. But the human side of us, the education and advocacy side of us, that was the legacy work we wanted to do. And you allowed us, have so many of those 250 people to date that we've scanned, have allowed us to do. But for you to just say that out of the gates unprompted, I just have to tell you how much that warms my heart.
It really means a lot. It means a lot to us for sure.
My pleasure.
We're building relationships with people.
Indeed.
And it's so important that we lead with kindness and caring in this particular space.
You bet.
Because you don't know what people are dealing with and if they've come to, we have many people come to their appointments and they're fearful. And, you can't avoid fear. You can't avoid a scary situation, but you can be there to support somebody through something that's difficult. And I think that's what all we want to do is just be there for people. So
and then to empower them and connect them with resources, and whether it be Dr. Bush or Dr. Brown or Dr. Alfonsi or the physiotherapist or me or you or whoever, so that they can create their own team and advocate for themselves. So before we go to the next break, you do have to finish the part of the story when you got your results and tell everybody what the results were, how it made you feel. And then if you want to tell them what we all did together, you have at it, girl.
Well, actually, my first sign of something good was Megan's face. So
I thought I had a poker face. Apparently not.
You were doing the scan and then you waited for the machine to come back with the results, and you looked at it and I just saw your face and like my heart just skipped a beat and I was like, this is not going to be bad. So when you told me that that the strength of my bones was really good, actually, and that I was in the green for both my hip and my spine, I was just, I couldn't believe it. Actually, it took me a few days for it to sink in, because you imagine I've spent all of these years with this kind of, I will call it trauma of what happened back in that doctor's office and then at the women's hospital. That even though I'd been doing all the right things, I think that going back for that second scan, I was like, is it going to be the same, or is this other machine still going to show, frail bones? Because this is the very structure our lives hang on, isn't it? Our
It
bones.
is true.
It's so
That's
true.
like, to be told that is fragile and porous and weak. Imagine what that does to the mental health. So that was just amazing. And so I saw that there had been a significant reduction as compared to the DEXA. And I really haven't needed to look very much at my result sheets again. But I was in the osteopenic range. And I was well into osteoporosis on the DEXA scan.
And let's just be very clear. You've done a lot of work. You've put in a lot of effort. This didn't happen overnight. And we also gave, when we're saying the bone structure or the strength, that's that fragility risk fracture score for those of you listening at home, the bone strength. And the latest research actually shows that, in fact, it is the fragility risk fracture score that the REMS Echolight scan provides that is a better indicator through research that whether you'll fracture due to osteoporosis versus the T-score that you've been told in the past. So there's sort of two aspects to bone health, isn't there? The quantity of bone, which is the T-score, which declines. All of us lose bone mineral density as we age. But then the inside, the bone strength. So you can have poor bone density and quantity of bone, but you can have good bone strength. And you're less likely to fracture. That doesn't mean it's impossible to fracture, but you're less likely to fracture due to osteoporosis. And for you to see that your efforts had actually changed your results on both aspects, and that you realize now, because you didn't know your fragility risk fracture score until getting your REM scan, the look on your face and then the instant tears that flowed to follow, along with our tears.
We were all in tears.
That was a moment.
Yeah.
That was a moment. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. That I don't think I've squeezed somebody so tight in a long time.
Exactly.
And the feeling was, it was like I felt like I had run a very long race. Like it was like, I've done it, I've achieved it, I'm there. But I told myself before I came to that office for that scan that regardless of what my bone health would be on that day from the REM scan, that I would still continue with everything that I've learned so far and keep going right up until the day I die. Because, you know, going into perimenopause and menopause and all the changes that happen, it's like super important, like, that I would stick to that. So I was like, I've done it, and what I've done has been working, and now I've got the right formula for my life.
Oh, what a great way to finish off this segment, because we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the things that you're doing, and maybe dream a little bit about what's to come. But you'll stay tuned with us, Amanda?
Yeah, sure.
All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us, because after the break, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into what next now that we've got good news with the bone health of Amanda. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.